When it comes to creating a series, there's a lot of inspirations and motivations as to why someone might do so. Of course, it's a form of self-expression, and there could be a lot of things that go into that. As for this author and his reason, well, he says it himself in the very first chapter. I love action movies. Sakamoto Days, which is currently at 112 chapters, has been going on since late 2020. And even though it hasn't gone unrecognized, there have been larger series such as Kaiju number 8 and especially Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man that have gotten the majority of the spotlight. If I were to sort of classify this manga specifically, it gives me a very similar feeling to when I read Mashle and One Punch Man. This manga is about the greatest ex-hitman in the world, Taro Sakamoto, who now runs a store with his family. And he's a little fat. Now, I'm not saying this is always the case, but I tend to notice the before and after pictures when a guy gets married are pretty crazy. And so the greatest hitman in the world gave it all up because he found love. I think you could see why the John Wick comparison was made. The comedic tone of the series is made instant from the very first pages as you start reading it, but yet things start to take an action turn, which is really one of the major selling points of this series. As soon as you find out that the organization of assassins is after him and wants to take him out because he left it all behind. The issue is they can't kill the guy because despite the fact that he's out of shape, he's still leagues ahead of everybody that they end up trying to send after him. To put it in perspective, the first person he beats is a mind reader, and the mind reader, whose name is Shin, ends up joining Sakamoto in working in the store and kind of helping him protect his family, as well as protect Sakamoto himself from all the different assassination attempts on his life we will end up seeing throughout the series. Now, there is a bit of a mix of slice of life as we try to see this man balance out his clear dilemma with also his family life and wanting to do everything he can for his wife and daughter. And in his dad bod form, he's still physically outperforming everyone who comes after him who's much younger and much more in shape. So I guess it's just a scientific fact that men, when they become fathers, just somehow gain 5 times crackhead, like, dad strength. I think the author does a really good job of the personalities he implements throughout the series, especially between Sakamoto and Shin, who are the two primary characters that we have. Be it that Sakamoto himself doesn't really speak much, and so a lot of the comedic, I guess, execution with him, if you could say, is his reactions, his facial expressions. Versus Shin, who's a mind reader, not only does it allow for great comedic moments with other characters and other assassins and what they might be thinking, but specifically with Sakamoto himself, whenever he sees what Sakamoto's actually thinking of. One of my favorite moments being when Sakamoto's told about his daughter growing up and how guys are going to ask her out, and Shin sees what he's thinking, and it's the most violent thing possible. As well as on top of the tension of having all these assassins after him, it's hilarious how Sakamoto himself doesn't ever really seem fazed by that, but if not, is more terrified of getting his wife upset. So, again, I guess it just goes to show that the most powerful, destructive man in the world is still horrified of an angry wife. It's just, love is something, ain't it? Really quick, a bit of an announcement. I have a Patreon server where we're doing watch parties. Currently, we've been trying to get through Steins Gate, and once we're finished with this, we're going to move on to Yu Yu Hakusho. So if you are interested in that or just interested in supporting the channel in general, it'll be down in the description below. Sorry, all right, back to your daily schedule program. There's also this interesting thing with Sakamoto, as at times we get to see how he was in the past and how people talk about his past self, and sort of his understanding and growing as a character, being someone who used his abilities to hurt others and take people out, but now has the desire to protect those he loves. And even though one could argue it's a simple motivation, I think it's a great one because it's easy to get behind this sort of character, as well as I think with the ever-growing age of anime and manga's demographic, I truly think this is a series that's easily accessible for anyone of any age. I've mostly addressed the wholesome slice-of-life comedy aspect of the series, but now I want to get to what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and that's the author's love for action films. If you're somebody who likes action films, again, this is the manga for you, as the author is so good at the action scenes throughout all of this. Not only do different fight scenes have different challenges, therefore it always feels fresh, but the main thing that really takes this series above and beyond within the manga is how great the artwork is. Now, there's a few things that go into creating a really good fighting scene within a manga, and obviously paneling is one of the major ones, and a lot of different things go into that. For example, optimizing the amount of panels you use to establish a specific thing within a fight scene, be it the establishing shot, the momentum shot, the impact shot, whatever it is. Knowing how many panels to use to keep the reader interested, as well as create a good and natural flow for the reader. And there's also the artwork itself with perspective, as well as showing motion and impact whenever it's someone throwing a punch, landing a punch, dodging a punch. All of those things go into it. And something that goes rather unnoticed, but it's well-timed dialogue within a fight scene. And well-timed dialogue really does help make the fight more digestible for the reader. And so Sakamoto checks the box on all of these, and it's a great example of great artwork within a manga without needing to be realistic. That's no knock against series that go for a more realistic style, just I think sometimes we forget that series don't have to be super hyper realistic to be considered good from an artwork perspective. There are a few other series, of course, that one could study for fight scenes. I think Dragon Ball is one of the primary ones, given the amazing but simple paneling that Dragon Ball's always used. Kengan Asura, One Punch Man are also great examples, but I think if there was any series that I would recommend first along with Dragon Ball to study paneling and fight scenes, Sakamoto Days would definitely be it. If I were to take out the significance of the story within the fight scene, that sort of context, and I were to just look at it for how it portrays fight scenes artistically, I would argue Sakamoto Days is the best thing I've seen at doing that in the last 2 years. This is a series that I would recommend to someone who's just getting into manga, has read a lot of manga, or is even going through a bit of burnout, as series such as this one and a couple months ago when I read One Punch Man really helped me ease my way back into it and kind of find joy when reading again. And as I said earlier, this is one that's incredibly accessible due to its comedy, due to the premise of the story, and due to the amazing action. So once this does get an anime, I can for sure see this blow up on the level of Spy X Family, just because I really do think this series is that enjoyable to be around. And if I'm being honest, I feel like you kind of have to go out of your way to really dislike this one. Again, everyone has their opinions, but I would really need to understand the reasoning as to why someone doesn't like Sakamoto Days. I really do think you're missing out if you haven't tried out this series, as well as you just haven't tried out series like Mashle and One Punch Man as well. Also, quick side note, the cover arts for this series are just sick, amazing. The most recent one was dope as hell. So as always, make sure you check out the series for yourself. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't left a like, leaving a like is always greatly appreciated. This has been The Masked Man. Hope everyone has a blessed rest of the day, and peace.